again. Sorry, y'all. Welcome back to Nothing But Nets. We are back. Uh, Nets pick up a win in the in this tail end of a back-to-back, defeating the Memphis Grizzlies. Also, shocking news coming in regards to the Nets, in regards to Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm going to get into all of it with my boy Jonathan, who we know from Brooklyn Nets, everything Brooklyn Nets. John, give me your thoughts on the game before we get into Giannis. John, you're muted. You're muted again. You're good. You're good. You're muted. You're good.
Can you hear me
John's
now?
having. Yeah, you're good. You're
I'm
good. You're
good?
good. Yeah, you're good.
All right. Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is John. It's great to be here with you, Gary. Happy Halloween to everybody. If you ever want to talk some great Brooklyn basketball with me, you can find me on my Twitter at OS91413John. We can talk some fun stuff. Last night was another fun, energy-packed game from the Brooklyn Nets. They showed a lot of fight. Dennis Schroeder, 33 points. This guy has been one of the best guards in the league. He's on a great pace right now. I think that definitely builds up his value tremendously. I thought Thomas's night was okay, but I thought Zaire and Wilson were exceptional. I mean, Jalen Wilson, he was a plus 25 last night. He's really taken Coach Jordy on the defensive stuff to heart, and he's just been a great the last few games. And Zaire had his revenge game, which was great. So I thought those three were standouts. And yeah, it was a hard fought win, but we also have to remember we're trying to get a top pick this year, and getting these little wins early builds up the value of the vets. So it's good for us, but we also can't lose sight of what's also important, which is cashing in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Nets these next few games and what happens with the vets.
All right, LBL just joined us. I'm glad to have you. I want to get your thoughts too. This is going to be an interesting show. There's a lot of news going on. I think you and Jonathan may have very different opinions on what they should do with Giannis as far as those rumors. But I want to start with the game. Um, we got the win. Memphis
Yeah, I
played.
gotta admit, I was switching back and forth because I'm a glutton for punishment, and I had to watch my Yankees lose. But I was
Sorry about
switching
that.
back
I'm
and
a
forth.
Yankee hater, so it was a double win for me yesterday.
Ah,
But I'm sorry for you, Yankees. That was a brutal way to lose a World Series.
Damn, Gary. I knew you put the whammy on us. I knew it.
well, it's funny because just something that I tweeted was, like one of the top prospects in baseball, right, Jason Dominguez. It was just fitting that Alex Verdugo, who a lot of us were calling to cut or trade and then bring up the kid. But I tweeted after the game, I said, so the Yankees may have cost themselves a shot at a World Series just to keep one more year of control of this kid. And that's just to illustrate to John that sometimes there's a bigger picture, than just winning the chip. So when he thinks that teams are all in, John, sometimes I tell you, some of the teams, we have 30 teams in basketball. That doesn't mean all 30 are interested in winning the championship. Mostly they're interested in making money.
My New York Jets went all in and got every veteran they could get to add to Rodgers, and they're 2-6. So going all in doesn't always pay off.
Yeah.
But
But I did see some of the game, and I didn't really get to see, like, when I did turn, I was impressed by I was definitely impressed by Schroeder. But to me, like, even when we were talking on previous people's podcasts like BKNY, it's like I was saying, man, you keep talking about Schroeder like he's dirt, and it's like, nah, this guy is a serviceable.
you, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're still muted. Well, LBL gets that figured out. I'm gonna bring the first question back to Jonathan. If LBL can get that figured out, we'll bring it back to him. First things first, DFS bench. They started Ben Simmons, and Noah Clowney. John, your thoughts on DFS going
Sorry
into?
about that. Sorry about that.
Oh, good. John, your thoughts on John's gone now too. We're having some technical
All
issues.
right, so go ahead. No, mine was just a phone call coming in. I'm sorry. So
Oh,
go
so
ahead.
we just lost John too.
All right, so yeah, you were talking about DFS because I didn't
DFS
see.
being Benz, Clowney, and Simmons starting.
Yeah, I don't know. See, to me, I'm just trying to figure out what is this allegiance to Ben. It's like I understand what we have to do with DFS. We're trying to get something for DFS. We already know we're not re-signing Ben, so then why do we have to, play him at all? Really, because that other game showed you we really don't need him. We need an extra ball handler. I'm not saying that. But, the way that this guy plays, it's like, man, we don't really need this guy.
I certainly agree with that. DFS to the bench, DFS, is one of our veterans. Is this a move that you see being sustained? Is he going to come off the bench for now, or are we going to just keep, playing with rotations until we find something that works?
Well, I think that for me, I don't think it matters if I just think it matters how well he plays. It's like he never really came into the league as a starter type guy, so I don't think it matters. It just matters how productive he is. If he's productive, I think that other teams will notice and they'll still want him because they know what he can do. He's a veteran. But in terms of starting or bench, I don't think it's a big deal. What I think is not a good thing is for at least 2 games. I don't know if it was 3, but for at least 2 of our games, he started at center, and I think that was just totally wrong.
It doesn't make he's strong. He's got he's a physical guy, but yeah, he's certainly not a center. He's a 3 or an undersized 4.
And one of them, I think, one of them was against Denver, right?
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, you don't
he got
start
absolutely
that guy.
bodied by Joker down the stretch. Which, I mean, look, John, let me swing the question to you. DFS coming off the bench, starting Clowney and Simmons. I like the idea of starting Clowney. Your thoughts on DFS coming off the bench? He did play more minutes than Simmons. He also played more minutes than Clowney. So he's still playing starters minutes. He's just coming off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, again, those minutes weren't like horrible yesterday. He was actually a plus 13, but that's why it's so good for us to eventually get off these vets because you want Clowney, you want Zaire and Wilson to get more minutes than they are right now because Doe is not making his threes. I think Doe right now at this stage of his career, he's like a PJ Tucker type guy. He'll give you the gritty defensive stuff that doesn't show up on the stats, but he's not going to be a clutch scorer. He needs a good point guard around him to open up his shots. So if there's a team out there that wants Doe's defense and wants to give a second round picks, maybe a prospect for him that they're not using, we got to take that so we can let Clowney get in the starting lineup. I actually would like Clowney with Claxton. I think together they help each other out on rebounding. They're both shot blockers. The offensive pacing of those two on the court would be a lot quicker, especially with going to the rim and transition offense. I really don't want Ben to start. You know what's so absurd about yesterday? He went to the rim like 2 or 3 times against Zach Edey, bodied him up, man, made it look so easy. I'm like, that's the Ben Simmons of old. And then what did he do? He hit for the next 2 quarters, got into foul trouble again, and then he just was a non-factor the rest of the way. Like, Ben Simmons, if you're going to dominate players for a few possessions, do it the whole game. If you
John, you're breaking up a little bit on us.
can do it.
Hey, John, do me a favor. Refresh your browser. You're breaking up quite a bit on us. Refresh for me real quick, John.
Wait, can you hear me now, Gary?
You're back now. Yeah, now you're good.
Yeah, sorry about this. There's something technical going on right now, but hopefully that will stop. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I don't want Ben to start like with what LBL says. If he's going to give you so little on the court, I'd rather have Clowney in that starting lineup with Claxton. I'd rather have even experiment.
John, I need you to refresh. I'm gonna go back over to just come back in and out real quick. You're breaking up on us again. Let me bring this back to LBL. One thing I noticed that I love, I want to bring John back because I want to talk to John about Zaire, but just the ball movement is a little bit like the Kenny Atkinson era where this team is finding open shots. They're moving the ball. There's no if someone was going to say that Cam Thomas is going to be a ball stop, that really hasn't been the case. The ball movement is good. They're playing unselfishly. Just kind of your thoughts on that so far.
Yeah, well, I said, like even before the games, I mean, even before the real season game started, even in the preseason, I said I was impressed with what Cam Thomas did, and I continue to be impressed with him as we go along because it looks like he's totally bought into the system. He's let the game come to him, and I think that he's done everything that's asked of him. And I didn't agree with them. I know a lot of people are like looking at, how much he's scoring and everything and said, we were stupid not to pay him the money. But I think that was kind of prudent of Marks. I think it made sense, like let him really prove over a larger sample. And if we have to pay more money, in the end, it'll be worth it because it's better to have that problem as, well, we got to come up with the money to pay him when we have money than it is to throw a whole bunch of money at him and then see it'll be like the Cam Johnson thing all over again. So I definitely, but I think he's definitely bought into it. I've seen a lot of times, at least it seems like at least 3 times per game where he should have an extra assist, but he doesn't because guys are missing shots, like wide open shots, and it's like, man, and he works so hard to get them. He works so hard to either draw a double team or to make the focus of defense on him just to have guys miss shots. So when people are looking at just the raw assist numbers and they're just saying, well, Cam only had 3 assists or something, I'm like, well, he could have 6 if these guys could hit shots.
That's been a problem, missing wide open shots. John, I want to bring the same question to you. The ball movement has been, really pleasant to watch. Talking about Cam being a ball stop, I thought there'd be games where Cam's going to take 40 shots, 30 shots. If he's hitting his shots, we'll have a shot. If he's not, we're going to get blown out. But the ball movement has been, it reminds me a little bit of the Kenny Atkinson days. What were your thoughts preliminarily, early going, the ball movement and, Cam Thomas not being a ball stop?
I mean, it's so great that we have a real team style on assist passes right now. Like everybody's sharing the bread. Nobody's being too selfish. Everybody's trying to get each other good looks. And that's what Jordy wanted. He said, even if the shot doesn't go in, as long as you guys are making the right reads to each other, that's good, more than good enough. So the fact that the assist numbers are going up to like 20, 30 a game, I mean, it's pretty good. It means your offense is free flowing. It means everybody's bought in. And you look at Zaire Williams especially, man, he's just been such a spark plug for these guys these last few games. So I just really like that there's a real team style, unselfish like attitude going on here. But to LBL's point, if Doe or Johnson actually made more of the threes than they missed, Cam Thomas' assist numbers would probably be bigger right now. Thomas has pretty much improved on everything, but with his assist numbers, I'm not going to ding on the guy. He's actually found Doe multiple 3-point shots, clear ones, and he just doesn't make them. So I'm not going to ding on Thomas for that. But Dennis Schroeder, he gets a huge chunk of the cake here. This guy's been averaging had over 30 assists the last 3 or 4 games. He's been a huge spark plug on that. So I'm very proud of this team for how they're doing. And this is definitely what is giving the Nets the energy right now to compete. So I'm happy with it.
There's 2 things I want to touch on there. The first is Dorian Finney-Smith's 3-point shooting. It's early. He's viewed as a 3-and-D guy. He's a mediocre 3-point shooter. When he's going, he's been, and I'm a Dorian Finney-Smith guy, so I'm not trying to disparage him. His 3-point shooting this year has been atrocious. It's early. It's only been a few games, but he's 3 for 8, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. But again, 1 for 4 from 3, 1 for 6 the game before. His 3-point shooting is a problem. Is he going to keep losing value if he can't start consistently making threes better than this? John, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is why it's so important for us to trade Doe as soon as possible because the 3-point shots just aren't going in. He's giving you some better defense lately on certain plays, but offensively, it's a huge liability to us right now, and you don't want to keep Doe longer than you have to and take back even less. So I hope we can find a suitor for him sooner than later because his 3-point disparity is hurting guys that are actually giving him great open shots. And the same goes for Johnson. You don't want to keep these guys just to keep chucking and missing 3-point shots, but that's supposed to be one of their specialties. So the sooner we get rid of these guys, the better. It'll allow the young guys to develop their 3-point shots and for us to have more of a more fun, free-flowing offense. So definitely got to get Doe out sooner than later, or else his numbers are just going to ruin his value even more.
I viewed him as a guy that would always have value because of his ability to stick the three at a decent clip and the defense and rebounding that he brings you. He brings you a lot. And I always viewed him as a guy for a playoff team. I always ask this question: is he on the court the final 5 minutes of the game? And I've always said Dorian Finney-Smith is absolutely on the court for a playoff team in the last 5 minutes of the game. I don't know that that's true if he can't hit the three. If he can't hit it at all, if he keeps shooting 1 for 6, 1 for 7, 1 for 4, he's not going to be on the court in the last 5 minutes of the game. And that's a problem. Let me put the question to you. We got Connor Long, Boy Wonder in the house. Connor Long, still want to do a show with you. Let me know when you're available. I still want to have you on whenever I can.
Is that the Wonder Kid? Is that the Wonder Kid?
That's Boy Wonder, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, but when you're talking about hey Connor, what's up? But when I think about Doe, what I'm thinking is he looks kind of old right now, because the thing that he used to bring was, even like besides just the 3 and D and like what you're saying, all the scrappiness, is he was still athletic and strong, but now he doesn't look as athletic anymore. So and it's starting to seem like he can't put the ball on the floor anymore. You know what I mean? Like he can't put the ball on the floor and be a slasher. So it's like all he has is the 3 and D. So if the 3 is not working, it's like, well then why is he on the floor? So but to John's point, I don't think you have to trade him as soon as possible. He's got to build up his trade value, and if he doesn't, so be it. But I mean, right now, I don't think you have to rush out and just trade him to anyone, because his value is at an all-time low right now, I think.
Right.
Hang on 1 second. The next thing I wanted to get onto was Zaire's revenge game. Zaire is first of all, what's his upside? And then your thoughts. Zaire obviously has a grudge against Memphis. They gave away for nothing. Zaire was a plus 11, but he had 17. He had a complete stat line: 4 steals, 3 assists, and at times he looked like the most impactful defensive player on the court. I mean, your thoughts on Zaire's performance, and what's his upside ultimately? Because right now he looks really, really good.
You want to go, John? Or
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, listen, I said this from the beginning. This is the blue chip prospect from the reclamation of the failed draft guys that can succeed, and he really is. I mean, let's remember, we traded a G Leaguer for Zaire Williams, and we got a draft pick on top of it. And he's done nothing but reward our faith in him. Defensively, he's such a spark plug on there, just playing aggressive, gritty, grimy, being all over whoever he's defending. This guy does not take a second away when he's on the court. And offensively is the confidence that's really starting to show. These last few games, he's been dunking 3-point shots, assist passes, steals, going to the rim, dunking. Like, he's really being a versatile, impactful player. And his upside is he can be a huge, important bench piece for us. He could be our 6th man on defense or our 7th guy on offense. You need important depth pieces like that. And Zaire's really carving out a future role on this team. I think Brooklyn could get him at a fair bargain in next year when they have all that cap space, and he could be a core piece for us going forward. He just is representing everything Jordy's looking for: hard-nosed defense, aggressive offense, and not taking a second away when he's on the court and being always hungry. So he's definitely building his stock up in Brooklyn.
LBL, same question to you.
Yeah, I guess he's playing the role that I had hoped that Trendon Watford would play. You know what I mean? Like being an energy guy and filling in. But I've seen some people on Nets Twitter, it seems like some people are saying we were dumb we need to re-sign him right now to, a multi-year deal. And I'm like, well, for me, it's too small a sample size. Like I said, I'm done with getting burned by guys because, listen, it was a third of a season that Mikal Bridges played. You know what I mean? That's 27 games. So I'm done with giving guys big deals after like 20 games and stuff. It's like we have the money. Nobody else hardly has the money. So we need to just be patient, play it out, and then see what kind of player that these guys can turn into. Because sometimes the law of averages, just like Doe can't hit the freaking side of an ocean now. Sometimes the law of averages hit back, and he will start picking up his value. Or then maybe Dennis Schroeder won't be like a top 10 scorer, but 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 we got to be a little bit more patient, I think, and just see what's going on with us. We shouldn't feel pressure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
No, there's no pressure on the Nets. I mean, like, best case scenario, we win. Best case scenario, we lose. Either way, it's like the Raging Bull. If you win, you win. If you lose, you still win, right? Like, there's nothing.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy. That's a good analogy.
There's nothing that can go wrong for the Nets. I want to bring Boy Wonder and Connor along.
Yes.
Hey, Connor.
How you guys doing? Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Gary.
Thanks for hopping on short notice. I
course.
appreciate it. We're talking about Zaire's revenge game. Zaire's all over the court. He looks like the best defensive player on the court. He's scoring points, offense up the defense. He's hit the three at a much better clip than we could have hoped for. Just kind of your thoughts on Zaire and then what's ultimately his upside.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get into that in a second, but you did mention kind of that win-win role for the Nets. Okay. And I've been thinking about that in the past few days, and I completely agree with that mentality because a win's a win. If you go out and win, you as a fan, you can't be upset, even if you're trying to tank. You can't be upset by a win, and then you lose. All right, for example, that Denver loss, that was a really tough game. They didn't hold on to the lead. They lost in overtime. But the way I thought of it as, okay, yeah, it was a tough loss. I thought the boys fought, and now we're just a step closer to that Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, Cooper Flagg type player. So that's the way I think of it. In regards to Zaire Williams, what did he have? 17 points last night. I saw,
Yes.
something I noticed not only last game, but in all 5 games really this season is he's been driving to the dish with authority, which is something I really want to see in a player like Williams. Someone who, like you said, Gary, got traded out of Memphis for basically nothing. Now you look and he's really carving out a role for himself as a role player on this team, and I think that's all you could have hoped for when you acquired someone like him. I will add something on here in regards to the Nets' overall play this season. They're a 2-3 team and could easily be 3-2. A couple bounces go their way. This team's above 500 through the first 5 games. I can't complain about anything. I really like the way this team's playing, Gary. I know we texted about it, and I said it to you. Once the team lost Michael, I was a little bit worried about this team not fighting till the end and giving up once they go down midway through the third quarter. However, they've proven me wrong. That's not the case. They fight till the final buzzer every single game, and I think that's something I want to see.
There's no the question, the buying into Jordy, that there's no question that they're giving you max effort and max energy every day. A max effort guy that you turned me on to last year, who I said, nah, he's not that good. Jalen Wilson. Can we talk about Jalen Wilson? Who, look, I don't know what his upside is, but he plus 25 yesterday, 12 points, 5 or 7 from the field, hit a 3. He's just everywhere. He's physical. He's strong. He's got a decent jump shot. I'll start with you, Connor, because this was your boy, Jalen Wilson, most improved player in the NBA this year. Jalen Wilson looks damn good. And we talked about this. We need to trade Cam Johnson and give him those minutes. Your thoughts on that, and is Jalen Wilson's surprising play so far this year? Well, not surprising to you, but surprising to me.
I'll start off with the Cam Johnson trade last year. I will say I had very low expectations for someone like Johnson. Gary, kind of to make a Jets analogy here, kind of like Alan Lazard, if you think about it, from his 2023 season and now. But when you look at Cam Johnson, like I said, really low expectations. He's kind of proven me wrong. I still want him gone just because of his current deal and the money we can save. But I thought he's looked okay. In regards to Jalen Wilson, I think the reputation that he got once he got called up last year is he was going to be that Kessler Edwards 2.0, that 3 and 2.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That Kessler Edwards 2.0. That
he's all right. He's Kessler Edwards. I mean, he'll be in the NBA, but
that 3 and D guy. But I mean, for a second round pick in last year's draft, he's really developed quickly, and that's something you want to see. That last year's, I'll go with his role now. What I think I've seen from him is I think he has the potential to, turn into a role player on this team, kind of similar to Zaire Williams. Obviously, the focal point of this team, really, at least thus far, have been Cam Johnson and Dennis Schroeder, 2 of the league's most efficient shooters through the season's first 5 games. So yes, it's early, but obviously those are going to be the superstars of this team. You look at someone like Wilson, I really think he can carve himself, into a role of being that role player type guy, that bridge, that, he's able to hit the 3 ball and he's also be able to drop back. He's been dishing the ball out great, which is something I like to see. I think he has the potential to do some really good things for this team.
I want to bring in our final panelist, Pod Thorne, the famous Pod Thorne here. Pod, we're on Jalen Wilson. His play has been sensational so far. I'm surprised. He's my guy. He's from Denton, Texas, about 5 minutes from where I live. He's my dude. I'm his biggest fan. I just wasn't expecting him to be this impactful and this versatile of a player. Your thoughts so far, Pod, on Jalen Wilson so far?
Oh, he's been phenomenal. When you hit on picks like that, it reverberates throughout the whole organization. It brings you closer to actually winning. That's why a lot of these franchises can't get over the hump or get out. Like once they start tanking, they can't get out of it because they can't develop the surrounding players. And by developing these guys, you're giving yourself an opportunity to shorten the rebuild as we speak. But this kid, the thing that I appreciate about him so much is that he had a game. He was at Kansas, he was player of the year. He was the NCAA champion. He stayed longer, came out at 22 years old, so he's a little older. He's older than Cam Thomas, I believe.
Yeah.
But still, when you find, shooting is shooting, hitting a wide open three is hitting a wide open three, and I think he could be a player in the Josh Hart mold, the type of guy that's gonna get you plus 7 rebounds a game from the shooting guard, small forward, defense off the bench, and he's always gonna be 3-and-D. He's working on that shot. You can see how it's improved from year to year. He didn't have a 3-point shot in college, so to see him develop one to this level, to looking like a young, 40% shooter, you can only be excited, man. I'm thrilled about this play.
Facts.
Let me get to the other two guys. John, LBL, same question to you guys. Are you surprised by Jalen Wilson, or did you see this coming? And what are your thoughts just overall kind of on Jalen Wilson so far in this small sample size? John,
you want me to go
first? Yeah, John,
yeah, sure. Listen, from day one, this guy has not played like a guy who was selected at 55 in the second round. This guy has come in from day one, said, I'm ready to go, put in the work, never complained. This guy's been a supportive teammate. I don't know if you guys saw it yesterday. Zaire went for a dunk. He was barely hanging on the rim. He fell backwards. Wilson was right there and caught him. That is a teammate I will ride or die for right there, man. He just saved Zaire from a concussion. I mean, Wilson has been an unselfish teammate. He's worked on everything they told him to work on. I thought it was weird when Jordy said he wasn't playing good defense when Ben and Claxton were playing like ass the first few games. But Wilson took what he said to heart, and he's been nothing but a plus 20 the last few games. And I think what's so impressive is his rebounding. Wilson's a small forward, but this dude is grimy, gritty, catching 6 to 7 rebounds a game. I think the biggest thing for him, develop the assist passes more, become more of a facilitator. Because once Wilson figures that out, we might be talking about potential 6-man conversations. But what I also love what Jordy's doing right now is he's developing players. Zaire and Wilson are the head right now of Jordy's program. They're both solid defenders, give you energy every night, and they're both offensively starting to become marksmen at the 3-point line. So I think Wilson is definitely carving out a role on our bench, and so is Williams. We're talking about what this team's going to look like in a few years from now. The bench right now is starting to be built right now with Zaire and Wilson at the head of that. I'm still waiting for Clowney to break out and have his moment, but as far right now, Wilson and Williams are definitely representing our bench and bringing that grit and Brooklyn culture back. So I'm very excited about how they continue to develop.
I'm sorry, LBL, your thoughts on Jalen Wilson?
Yeah, I could say, I was impressed after I first saw him in the summer league, not this past one, but the first one he did. And then this one, he had a really good summer league shooting the ball. But I still have some concerns with his, inability to finish amongst like taller players. But I can't question that, his ticker. He plays really hard. And since you're in Texas, Gary, I'm gonna have to use one of those Rudy T things. Never underestimate the heart of a champion,
That's
right?
right.
And he was a champion in college. So I think that the thing is, and him being older, he kind of knows, like, well, I'm not a prospect in the same vein of some of these other guys, but I do what I have to do to compensate for it. So if that makes him, have to work harder and everything, it's okay, it's fine. But he does, he plays, he hustles and everything. So, I don't have any real problem with him. I think what ends up happening sometimes is I'm kind of even keel with him. But I think what happens is people go off, like if he goes like 4 for 6 from three for the next game, or even 6 out of 8, then people are like, "Yo, he should be starting in the league," and this and that, and I think that makes other people just go and start hating on him, even though it's not his fault. You know what I mean? And that's what kind of happens with some of us as fans. Some of us take it over the top, like Zaire Williams is the greatest thing since whatever. So now, because I'm switching to Zaire, and now it's like, yo, we should sign him to a 5-year contract and blah. And it's like, come on, let's just take it easy. Let's just see how he is. Let's let everything even out, and then like just appreciate their growing game. So when Pod is saying, yeah, he is growing, I can definitely acknowledge that. And like I said, Cam is growing. So if everybody is growing and developing, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on that. We're not focused on wins. We're focused on development and growth. And one thing I can say, and I'm looking for that with Keon. And I didn't see the part. I only saw the replay of him, him and Ja getting into it and everything. But I really like that. That's one thing that Keon brings, and it's one thing that Zaire bring. They bring that, yo, we're gonna get inside your uniform. We're gonna play that kind of D on you. And if you don't like it, so what? Who cares? And I think
Zaire's
Yeah.
defense.
that comes from Jordy. I think that
Zaire's
comes
defense
from
was
Jordy.
I was told was good. Is way, but he's a hounding on defense. He is all on. He's a kind of throwback player in that sense. Like he hounds you every minute he's in the game. Like he's a guy that will always have a spot on my team because of that kind of defense.
And you
The
can
last,
see can't you see the discomfort with players? It's like
yeah,
they're almost like they keep turning to the ref whenever he's guarding them because they're uncomfortable. They
Yeah.
have a level of discomfort. Like, oh, I just don't want to be. I don't want this guy hounding me. And it's like, hey,
Because
this
it
is
yeah.
basketball.
It rarely happens in today's league when you really think about it. It's turned in, Gary, you did mention that throwback reference. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was like that. It was a defensive heavy game. Now you look and it's who's going to score the most points. It's an offensive game. That's the way players view it. So now you got a player in like Zaire Williams, who isn't this superstar player, a diamond in the rough, so to speak. I know that's an early assumption to make, but that's what he's shown thus far. So you got a player like him who's just going to be all over you on defense. It's someone like I'm going to make like an inter-team comparison here. That is someone that Cam Thomas does not want to have to, go
Cam
against.
Thomas does not want to be guarded. Cam
Exactly.
Thomas is very
Yeah.
happy that Zaire is on his team.
Exactly.
The
Someone
the
like Cam
thing,
Thomas or these shooters, they don't want someone like Zaire guarding him. So, I think what he brings, how tall is he again? What is he?
6'9".
6'9". Okay, so yeah, he brings fine size to the table. He's kind of that 3-4 combo guy. So I really like what I've seen out of him, and you just gotta hope he keeps it going. But I've been impressed with this Nets team. I was expecting, not a great start. I was expecting possibly like an 0-5 start with a lot of just errors and poor play mistakes. However, it's not been the case. I mean, the only player really who has done nothing, who hasn't contributed much in the rotation, is Ben Simmons, and we all really expected that. I mean,
Let me
Go
get
with
to the next
Connor.
topic though. Connor, let me get. I want to get to the next topic here.
Yep.
Schroeder. What do we make of this? We're gonna go around. I want everyone's take on this. I'll start with you. It's just John, and then Pod, and then Connor. He's playing not like a good player. He's not playing like a professional. He's playing like an all-star point guard. He's scoring 30 and 8 every night. He's giving you outrageous production on extreme efficiency, and he's still playmaking. LBL, we'll start with you, and guys, just go around. Everyone take a turn. What do you make of Schroeder, and can he keep this up?
Well, for me, I always liked his game. I thought he was much maligned when he was in LA, and I think I can kind of see the reason because if you really look at it, it was like some of our early games, like with when Ben was when Ben was controlling the ball mostly. So I think that's what was going on in LA. It's like he's not a guy like where LeBron was controlling the ball a lot, and he's like, I'm not just a stand around shooter. I'm a guy that I need my shot has to be in rhythm. I need to feel the ball and this and that. So I think so, but I think that I thought he used to kill us when he was on Atlanta. He used to kill us with the mid range, remember? But now it's like he's developed a better 3-point shot. But when he was on that Atlanta team coming off the bench for I think Jeff Teague or whatever, he used to kill us with the mid range, and I think he's a very decent player. I think, but he's also older and and he's wiser. So I think that he definitely can help some contender, but I'm not ready to like package him like in the next week for so and so, because I feel like even if he returns to the mean and it goes down to where he's scoring 15 a game or 13 a game, I think he can help with the development of the guys. And that's the most important thing. It's like the most important thing is, well, we're developing these guys. We're not trying to make the plan, but we are trying to develop our guys. And as long as he's here and he's got good practice habits and he's gathering the guys together, that's what is good for right now until, we get closer to the trade deadline.
Let me get to Jonathan. Jonathan, quickly, Schroeder, he's playing at an all-star level. He's playing at an insane level. Your thoughts so far on Schroeder?
Gary, I think I can speak for Soul when I say if there's a team that wants him, we're going to be very fair and only take back 6 first-round draft picks for him at this point. We're going to keep the gravy train rolling now. But listen, Dennis, he's been exceptional this season. I really think Dennis took the Olympics very personally this year when he got up there with the names of Nikola, Curry, LeBron. Like the guy like Dennis normally doesn't get put in the same category as those guys because many people see him as a journeyman. He's been bounced around a lot, but he played exceptional for Germany, and he sent a message like, "Hey, listen, we take it very serious over here in the U.S. It's very entertainment-wise now." He's kind of got a point there. Some of these all-time all-stars that are playing right now, they have the name. Their skill sets aren't always there, but they have the name. Whereas Dennis, it has to be his skill set because his name doesn't carry him to like huge places that these other stars do. So I think he's really taken it on the chin and has been an exceptional leader for this team. But we also have to look at this. His value is the highest right now for the vets. Johnson Doe, we kind of know where the values are at. With Dennis, there might be a team that really values his leadership, his scoring, whether it's in a backup role or a potential starting, depending on how their team is constructed. But if they're willing to give you a protected pick for him at this point, you got to take it. Like if you get a decent offer for him, you got to take it. Because if you keep Dennis, he's not going to be able to keep this going for 82 games. We just know that. But I'm enjoying what I'm getting from him right now. But you have to also keep up business.
Hey Gary, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted this thought just came, and I want to say it before I lose it. I was just thinking about what Jonathan was saying that his value is at its peak, and I'm thinking, but if we trade him too early, is that going to hurt the value? Like he's our best point guard, so is that going to hurt the value of trying to get DFS and Cam Johnson's value up?
Do their stats decline because they're not getting open looks?
Because they don't have him.
That's a fair question. I don't have a good answer to that. That's a legitimate question.
Well, I have a small answer. LBL.
I have an answer to that.
Yeah, Paul, let me get you in.
Listen, guys. Dennis Schroeder is a 5'11" point guard in the modern NBA. He's great for us. Great team leader, great example. All those would be a nice Udonis Haslem type of player going forward. But he's 31 years old. He's an undersized Euro guard who, and don't get me wrong, he's playing great, playing awesome. But when the Nets draft their point guard this year, the most he could be is like a coach on the floor or something. You know what I'm saying? Like all of this is temporary. All of it is enjoy it now. The Nets traded more valuable draft picks to be able to tank. That's something that y'all have to think about when you're making this calculus. Or are we tanking or are we not tanking? The Nets traded more first rounders and some considered more valuable than the ones that they got back in return because of the likelihood of where they fall. Everyone thinks the Knicks is going to be 1 or 2 in the East. Everyone thinks the Bucks is not going to be less than 4. So those first rounders are looked at damn near like second round picks in terms of value. The Nets traded for those picks, not to fuck around. They traded so that they could tank and ensure that they pull one of these blue chippers out. To do that, you have to have either the first or second worst record in the league. That's what's happening. That's it. Enjoy these wins. They're fun,
Twice.
but
We
this
did.
is
That's
reality.
We
fair.
have to do it 2 years in a row.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're gonna get this. I'm gonna get the Connor's take so far on Schroeder, and then we're gonna get into this Antetokounmpo things, which would change the calculus if that would have happened. We're gonna get that in a second, but let me get Connor's take on Schroeder first.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really complain, Gary. I mean, he's looked great this season, dropping 33 points last night in Memphis. I really like how shifty he's looked on the floor. It kind of reminds me a bit of what Cam Thomas has shown recently, how shifty he is with the ball, those pump fakes. There's something at the hezzy move, something I really like Schroeder and what he brings to the table. I mean, when they acquired him last year, I thought it was just one of those guys, you get him at the trade deadline, okay, he plays out the rest of the year with the Nets, and then he's gone in the offseason. But now he's back, and he's looking like a very solid player. I think a lot of it depends on what the Jets can get in return for him. And I completely agree. I think it was LBL who said it about you're not. We just know this isn't going to happen. It was either LBL or Pod about we know he's not gonna keep this up for a full season. And I completely agree with that. But I think dealing him this early can hurt us because it's one of two things. Right now, I think Schroeder's a player on the market. It's still very early in the season. Teams are looking at him and they're looking at him as a potential steal. Okay, maybe you look at his track record. He hasn't been great. He's gotten off to a hot start and then they maybe try to fleece the Nets in a deal like that. I don't think that's the right route to go. But then if you hold on to him, he's eventually going to show his true colors. You know, I really don't know what the market would look like in terms of what you get in return for someone like Schroeder, but for a team that's trying to tank, I really like what Schroeder brings to the table. He could possibly be in a really solid player on this team.
I think Pod gave a really kind of sobering answer on what Schroeder is and how he's going to be looked at throughout the league. So I'm going to start with him on this Giannis thing. When I first saw this, John sent me this thing in the morning, and I thought it was cap, and I saw it from like 3 other
No
sources.
cap.
I go, this is real.
We
Giannis, apparently from multiple sources, credible sources that we all read, has Brooklyn as his preferred trade destination. Now they would have the money; that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Pod, you gave us a really good answer on Schroeder. Give me your thoughts on Giannis. Is this something you're for? Is this something you're against? It would obviously change the rebuild.
well, first of all, this is called negotiating. This is Giannis's agents letting them the Bucks know, don't fuck around, cause we could be out of here, right? This is not from nowhere, and of course, the Nets are always going to be in the mix, not the Knicks. No players want to live in Westchester and drive into Manhattan to 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 um to live. And you know what I'm saying? In Brooklyn, you live in Brooklyn, you play in Brooklyn, you chilling. Like, or even if you live in Manhattan, you just crossing over the bridge and you're here. And even New Jersey is better than having to
Westchester.
deal with going all the way to over 2 bridges just to get to practice. Nobody's doing that. So the 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 thing about this Giannis thing, of course, he wants to. He has the Nets on the list. Every single one, every single disgruntled NBA superstar has had the Nets on the list. Bill said when Bill was looking to move out of Washington, he said very openly on camera in 4K, we called the Nets. There was nothing. They said that they weren't trying to make a move right now. So we moved on. We had, hey, we had uh uh we already had these places in mind. And so now he had to like move on the conversation to move the conversation to uh uh um where it was that he sorry, where it was that he, had to think of other teams. Same thing with Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard had us on the list. Even if
Did.
Miami was the top of the list, Dame Lillard had us on the list. So it goes on and on and on. We're Brooklyn alone is 4.5 million people. We're a large market in a cool place. Like the property value isn't what it is because it's not dope to live here. It's great to live here. And players want to come here, and we have to get used to that. So is it real? No, not yet. But
All
it
right.
takes it's but years on out, players are looking. Players, it's not like they wake up on July 1st and go, I want to go here. That's a lie. These are walking human corporations, billion-dollar corporations. They don't make decisions on a whim. They have to meet with their sneaker company. They have to meet with their with the people that they have investments with. I'm gonna be moving all the way over here. How does it affect the rest of this $100 million organization that is me? And so they start to look, they start to hunt and peck, like, oh shit, how would I look in black and white? Oh, that's cool. Me and my kids living in the city for a couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Like that's we're always going to be in those conversations. The question for us as an organization is, are we going to have a mature answer on what type of team that we want to be? What have we learned from the Darren Williamses and the KDs and the Kyries and the Kevin Garnetts and the Paul Pierces? They want to come to our city. They want to come play in our building. But the question is, is that good for us? And as
Let me
history would say, no. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think John and LB are going to disagree the most on this, so I want to get you guys in. You guys can decide amongst yourself who's going to go first. But John, LB, I think he raised a good point. It's more than a basketball decision, and it's really not real right now. It's just it's flirting. It's just a threat kind of thing.
Well, for me, I'll weigh in right now, and you are correct. As great as Giannis is, top 5 guy, uh, he doesn't fit our timeline. So I look at it as, does he have more? Does he have more great years ahead of him or behind him? To me, his best years are behind him. He's at his peak now. He's only like 28 or something like that. But
30.
He's
30.
30.
Oh, well, he's already 30 then. He doesn't have, and his style of play, it's not going to be like KD's style of play. You know what I mean? So, where it's a finesse game. So, for me, I don't think that that's something that I want to chase, spending, letting him make 65 million a year as we just our box office because he's a great player, but we don't win. I'm trying to have sustained greatness and for like 10 years, not just a 3-year window to win.
I
So
knew
We
you
have
were
the
going to be.
tools
I
to
knew
do.
LB was going to be against it. I know John's going to be for it. So, John, tell me why we should do this.
Sorry to cut you, but I just want to ask LB a question,
Go ahead.
right? But don't you agree that like, of all the teams and of all the fan bases in the world, that ours should be the most chill and the most patient to be something like the OKC model? Like, isn't that what everyone should be aspiring to, building a team in that format?
That's what I'm saying. So because this is what I'm saying. This is not Juan Soto, who just turned 26. You know what I mean? So Juan Soto, I
Right.
understand. You trade those things, and then you and then look, the Yankees traded him, and he only is on a 1-year deal, so he could very well leave and join the Mets or the Dodgers. But what I'm saying is, it's his age and the prospect of and the potential of what he can do over the next 10 years. So that's what I'm saying. If Giannis is already 30, why do I want to spend, and he's already close to making 60 something. So why do I want to spend that on him just so we can finish in the top 4? I don't want that.
Let me address what Pod said, because like the OKC model. OKC, OKC is just a couple hours from me. I don't know if anyone here has ever been to OKC. When Pod was talking about Brooklyn being a cool place to live. The opposite of Brooklyn is Oklahoma City. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Oklahoma City. No one is going to take their business to Oklahoma City. There's nothing there. No superstar is going to say, you know where I want to go? OKC. So they have to do it organically. They have to draft KD. They have to draft Russell Westbrook. Right. They have to draft Harden, because Harden and KD are never going to look at Oklahoma City as like, that's where I want to go.
Right. So, I think we could be OKC with advantages.
Yeah.
Not only can we, because we have so much draft capital in deeper drafts. Well, the Chet draft was pretty deep. Like that, it's all NBA players straight through. But still, and with these 2 drafts coming up, we have that plus the cheat code of the fact that it's Brooklyn. We're gonna be able to sign a player that's that's our version of SGA, and we have enough assets to even trade for that player if necessary. You understand what I'm saying? So not only can you get the organic young players, but that OKC thing doesn't work without them getting SGA. The Nets can get their version of SGA simply by either signing them as a free agent. Shoot, they could sign SGA. He comes up like 26 or 27 one of those years. And you know what I'm saying? But it's Brooklyn. These guys are eventually would love to play in New York City and win in New York City. That's just what it is.
You got that right. If anyone can bring a basketball championship to New York City, they're the new Derek Jeter. They're the face of the city. John, let me get to you, because I haven't heard from you, because I know you're going to have a different opinion on this. What should the Nets do with Greek Freak?
Well, like Pod started this out, he says it's negotiation on Giannis' part. Listen, the Bucks are done, man. Let's call it out what it is. They are an inevitable rebuilding team. Giannis and Dame have zero chemistry. They spent a whole summer without actually playing. They talked about playing together, but it never translated, and this is why. In the first few games, they look lost on the court. Sure, their individual numbers are fine, but they're not really gelling. Doc Rivers doesn't know what's going on, and their bench is so bad. I mean, Lopez, his career is almost over. Middleton, his ankle's a shot. Bobby Portis can only give you so much as a 6-man or backup. So it's like the Bucks just aren't flowing as a team. So whatever happens this season, this summer could be huge for Giannis, where he just says, you know what? It was fun. I won a championship. I want out. And this is what it feels like. The signals are being sent. And like you said, it's always great for Brooklyn to be connected to stars. It means we always have an avenue when we want to hit that button again. But we also have to look at this too. If we draft a Cooper or Ace, or heck, if we draft Dylan Harper, I think if you draft Dylan Harper, there might be a chance we make a trade for Giannis. You think about this rotation.
John, let me. You're not getting Giannis, who's one of the greatest basketball players to ever live, without trading away that pick. That pick, that Cooper, that Ace, that Harper, whoever you think, that's going to be a part of the trade.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're going to ask.
We got 60 picks, Gary. We got 60 picks, Gary. We got 60 picks. We're not going to do it now.
Yeah, but they're
if Giannis truly wants us, it's after we get a Cooper or Ace, not before. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do something dumb as that.
You think Milwaukee is going to trade away one of the greatest top 3 or 4 power forward to ever live right? An impact player that can win you a championship without getting that pick in return.
Gary, who has the power here, Giannis or the Bucks? The Bucks don't win a championship without Giannis. And let's look at this. You just said OKC's a small market. Milwaukee. What stars have gone to Milwaukee besides Giannis? Oh, and Dame. Well, Dame was forcibly brought here for whatever reason. Yeah, Dame didn't want to be in Milwaukee. Let's remember this. He wanted to go to Miami. You can look back at all the facts. He said to him, I want to go to Miami. That's my number one team. And they sent him to Milwaukee. And that still hasn't made any sense to this day. And it shows with their lack of chemistry. So if Giannis wants out, Giannis wants us. It's either us or Miami. We ultimately have way more assets than Miami has, and they're about done with Jimmy Butler, so I don't see any sense with Miami going after him. So it's really if he wants us. If he wants us, the Bucks kind of have to take back what we can give him. We're not going to throw all of our assets away at Giannis, though. If that's the case, we stay away from Giannis. We keep going like LBL said with 2025, 2006 draft, and then go for a star. But if Giannis wants us,
I don't see in any realm that you can get Giannis without giving him that pick. Like any trade for
Gary, who is Milwaukee to demand anything? They had their window. They're an inevitable rebuilding team. Who they demand what we want?
What they're saying is when it comes to Giannis, you're not trading. You're thinking in terms of winning championships, but Milwaukee's thinking in terms of jerseys sold, and that Giannis is what brings out, all of these people. They're not going to give up. They're not going to give, and that's why Dame was in Portland for so long. It's like he still had a top-selling jersey, so they're not going to give that up unless they could truly rebuild with some really good picks. So even if they don't take our top 25 pick, they'd probably take the other 3 picks plus the 26 pick for Giannis.
I want to bring Connor because Connor's too young to know all the pain of a Nets fan, right? You weren't alive when they had Marbury and Van Horn, and that didn't work, right? You were barely alive for Pierce and KG. That's how young you are. So you didn't see these win now teams just collapse, right? So I want your take on this because it's kind of unique because you didn't have all the pain and suffering. Your thoughts on bringing in Greek Freak. And I disagree with John. I think in order to do that, you're going to have to trade away that Cooper or Ace picks. So let me get your thoughts on that.
Well, Gary, I will say this. I have seen one win now Nets team, and that was the big 3, KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. And obviously that didn't work out. My biggest thing with Giannis is, like, if the Nets are going to trade him, they're going to have to give up top dollar. They are going to have to go out and give away a lot of their draft picks. And then the question I'm asking Sean Marks is, what is the goal of this Nets team? It's almost like the mentality is at this point, okay, they've gotten off to this okay start. I feel like what's going through their brain with this Giannis trade is maybe we're just one piece away, which I personally don't think is the case for this Nets team to really elevate to a championship winning roster. My question is, what is the mold of this team? Because if they were to make that move, you're going from a team that's trying to tank and get a top draft pick to, okay, we're going all in and getting one of the best players in the NBA and just, killing killing all of our future, and we're just going full win now mode, which I personally don't think is the move, because I don't think this team is just one piece away from winning a championship. So, again, a lot of it depends on the value, but if they're going to have to give up all their picks, a lot of their first rounders in the future, I'm not going to go after Giannis because I really like.
If they have to give up that their pick this year, so it's called Cooper or Ace pick, just that alone, does that disqualify the trade for you? If Milwaukee says I want that pick, it does for me.
It does for me.
I want to see where this team is closer towards the trade deadline, because we're only 5 games into the season right now. They've gotten off to an okay start. Yes, they're 2-3, but like I said, they could easily be a 3-2, maybe even a 4-1 team. It's just we're 5 games into the season, and I think we're overreacting as fans a little bit to the point where it's like, okay, yes, this is source news, obviously, but it's to the point, okay, when is Giannis going to come? When is Giannis going to come? I think it's something we have to wait till the trade, the trade deadline time comes around, because 2 outcomes could happen. This team could implode, show their true colors, and we could be, 15 games under 500 by the time the trade deadline comes.
Most likely going to happen.
Exactly.
We're most likely going to be well out of it by the deadline.
Yeah. or this team can, play the way they've been playing, play really, really stout ball, and who knows, maybe they're obviously this is, very far fetched, 10 games over 500 and competing at the top of the conference. So a lot, it's not going to happen, but a lot can happen from now up until the trade deadline. If I had to make the decision now, I would say no, just because, like I said, that would just completely change the whole mentality of this team, what this team is built for. I mean, this team is built for guys like Zaire Williams, built for guys like Jalen Wilson, built for guys like Dennis Schroeder, these diamond in the rough type players, so to speak. It's not built for a superstar like Giannis to come in to a team that's trying to tank, have to give up all your picks, and now it's getting to the point where you're just trying to sell tickets. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. And by the way, speaking of tickets, I was looking. I actually might go out to the game. I normally go to 1 to 2 games a year. To get into Nets versus Pistons on Sunday,
$12.
$7.
$7. Nice. That's back the old Jersey days. I think
the lowest I've seen it is 30. I think that's the lowest I've seen it.
Let me get a question for Pod. Pod, I want you taking this because you've given some sobering thoughts today. I don't think it's possible. John does. If we were to make that trade, hypothetically, would Milwaukee do it without the Nets 2025 first round pick? Could you see that being realistic?
No, like Milwaukee can't even do this trade. Period. Like one, let's say the hypothetical first, right? Let's say like could you possibly say, hey, we can't do 2025. We're too invested into that year of the draft. It's too much a part of our plans, but we'll give you a 2026, and
your 2025 back. Right, you're 2025 back and 2026.
Exactly, something that works that way. But the Nets have no leverage early. Like if they wanted him now, they have no leverage early, and I don't see what the Nets have on their team. I don't see like him and Cam Thomas having some ill potential connection. Like matter of fact, they might demand Cam Thomas in the trade. I just don't see the logic of it. It's such a hard question because it would just be like you would literally be saving the Bucks. The Bucks fucked themselves. They're screwed. Yeah. And doing this trade would be us becoming the Bucks. Like we're turning into them. That's a good point. All of our promise, all of our future, and of course, all of it is hypothetical. Sean Marks has to do the right things, but you can't. The moment you take Giannis, the dream is over. You're not dreaming anymore. You have to win now, and I just can't see it. I really couldn't see Sean Marks being that dumb. Sorry,
John.
There's two things I'd like to add to it.
Let me get John back in. I get to you in a minute, but let me get John back in. John, you think they can get this done without the Cooper Ace pick? Maybe they can. I can't see it.
Let
me pose a question. If they did that, if they got Cooper or Ace and Giannis, even at that point, is it a win now team, or are you still years away?
Well, I think the good thing that the Nets have is they have many different avenues. And if we drafted Cooper or Ace and Giannis still wants us, we're not going to give away Cooper Ace for that. If that's the case, say, Giannis, appreciate you wanting us, but we might not want you because we have to see what happens in 2026. But let's say we get to the summer, we just drafted Cooper or Ace, and Giannis still wants us. We're thinking about a one-on-one swap, which would kill our assets. But here's the thing. What if there's a third team born into this? What if there's a third team that wants to maybe contribute assets to take assets back? Like, then you can start really thinking, hey, maybe the Nets can divvy up some things without having to blow the whole bank on Giannis. Like, there's different avenues to think about there.
Here's a question I want to ask you, John. And this is what I mean that the Knicks got fleeced in the trade, which Knicks fans hate. Could the Nets realistically get Freak for less draft capital than they got for Bridges? Could the Nets...
If you pull in multiple teams, it's definitely possible. But if you just do a one-on-one swap, I wouldn't do it. If you just do a one-on-one swap, they're going to want to take a lot of our assets. And here's another thing. Giannis had a training session with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper a few months ago, one-on-one session with these guys. He told them exactly how to like score on the court. Listen, people actually underestimate Giannis as a basketball-minded, knowledgeable person. He's not
He's got
just a
a great
Greek
mind for
freak
the
on the
game. He's
court.
got a great
He
mind
actually
for the game.
I
studies
just
guys.
posted that, John. I just posted that on Twitter.
Thank you, Pod, because I want to bring it up because that was what me really started connecting this. Because think about this: what if we get Ace Bailey, the guy who's probably one of the best scorers in this draft? Like I like Cooper Flag, but Ace probably has the quantity aspect of the scoring. Imagine Giannis next to a Ace Bailey, the potential there. Giannis wouldn't have to carry the game. He could get Ace Bailey at easy 20, 30 a night. Like there was some scouting on Giannis's part. Maybe he's interested if Brooklyn gets a Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey. Maybe he's like, hey, listen, I just mentored these guys. They're doing exactly what I told them to do in their Rutgers games. Maybe I could actually help them actually grow as a team. Like there are different connecting factors. It's not just, oh, Giannis wants us, let's blow the bank on him. Like Giannis might potentially really want to build something here. I don't know how sustainable it will be, but let's remember, Sean Marks and Joe Desai have not changed their stripes. They're still the same guys they were when they walked into the building. If there's an opportunity to get a star, they're probably going to do it.
John, I agree, and that's why I don't want Sean Marks here. That's why I don't want Sean.
I know.
LBL, I know you had some thoughts. We haven't gotten to you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is, and he just mentioned Ace Bailey, but look at the difference in age. They're 11 years apart, and so if Ace Bailey is the second best player on the Nets team, between him and Cam Thomas, who might get included in the trade, we don't know, but I'm saying Giannis is on a time. He's on a timer. He doesn't have time to wait for the Nets to get better or to draft more guys and stuff. No, that's why he wants out of Milwaukee, because he knows they're old and they can no longer sustain what their contention. So he wants to go somewhere where it's ready-made to win right now for him while he's 30 years old. And that's not Brooklyn. And that's okay. That's okay that it's not Brooklyn. We don't need a guy who's 30 years old making $65 million, based on his athleticism. And it's like, that doesn't fit our time frame. And when I'm saying, like, I want a long, sustained thing, what I'm saying is I want to win 50 games for, like, the next 10 or 12 years. I want us, if we don't peak, I'm not saying that we have to win the championship in 3 years after the 25 draft, after the 26 draft, and now we trade to go all in to win. Let's just win, get better, and then see where we are as far as our guys. That's what I
always use is Dallas. They got their guy in Dirk. They were good. They won 50 games every year, and the 1 year they got over the hump. That's kind of what you want when you get that superstar, is give me 12 good years, right, of competitive basketball and get me one chip. If you can do that, I'm a happy guy. I got to wrap this up. I want to get the final thoughts from everyone. Connor, I'll start with you. And I'll just go around. Give me your final thoughts on this Giannis thing, and let everyone know where they can find you.
Well, yeah, Gary, I appreciate you having me on as always. I think, like I said, I don't think there's much more to say. It's how does trading for someone like Giannis change the mold of the team if they were to trade him, obviously, this season? That turns them into really a win-now team. And as we know from Sean Marks' tenure with the team, he has not had much success with these high-leverage trades for these superstar-like players. The one thing that he's shown he's been stout at throughout his tenure with the team is drafting. And the Nets have all these draft picks, so why risk, messing up possibly in a trade like Giannis than staying the course, tanking the correct way, or, losing games the correct way? Then you spend the course, and who knows, this team gets an Ace Bailey, a Dylan Harper, a Cooper Flag, and 2-3 years from now, this team can be competing for their first ever NBA championship in franchise history. So you just never know what happens, even from now till the trade deadline. 82 games is a long season. We're only 5 games in right now. I think it's a bit of an overreaction. But Gary, like I said, appreciate you having me. Find me at Connor_long15 on Twitter, at NYFlightJetsTalk on YouTube, and go Nets.
Pod, give me your final thoughts on this. I know your thoughts, but give me your final thoughts and then tell them where they can find a great Pod Thorn.
Yeah, man. I think I just wish people would just see that the Nets are in a great position. It doesn't even have to be the draft that we're always talking about, Ace or Cooper or whatever. It doesn't have to be any of those things. It could be, you could come away with with VJ Edgecombe, and Common Malawach. And that's a hell of a draft. Like,
100%.
I mean, I'd be disappointed. I'd like Ace. I don't know why I see Ace being a Brooklyn Net. But this draft is so deep that you could draft those two kids and come away with like future NBA championship material type players. The last game Duke played, Common looked better to me, looked better than Cooper in the sense of he's 7'2", he's playing hellacious defense, and he shoots threes at 17 years old. Like this, we have a hell of an opportunity. We can't get distracted by these nice games where it's like, because I root for the Laundry, I like it, but at the same time, we gotta stay focused, Nets fans. We're on a mission. We could be one of those teams that are good for 10 years straight, for a generation. And if you could do that, that's building a real team. That's becoming a real organization. Even if you don't win the chip, if you're the type of team that's Eastern Conference Finals, heartbreak, eventually you're gonna break through if you're consistently winning. And you can't consistently win if you don't get it out the mud, if you don't draft these kids. You could see it. Zaire looked like he was gonna cry playing against Memphis yesterday. He was so sad that the team that drafted him dumped him for not even like assets back, just to get the contract off. You know what I'm saying? Just to finish up real quick. Sorry to be long-winded about this, but I just think that we almost have to become one-minded with this, because to just see the bigger pictures, because we're a New York team, we're gonna get distracted. We're gonna get the Giannis is coming and this person is coming and blah blah blah. You stay focused. Our focus is on building an evergreen team, a team that wins always. We could do that.
Agreed,
Let's
Pod.
stay
Tell
focused, Nets
tell
fans.
me where they can find you, Pod.
Man, I'm just on Twitter and on y'all and on y'all respectable gentlemen shows. So at Pod Thorn, check me out.
Appreciate you, Pod. I'll get to LB next, and I'll finish up with Jonathan because that's going to be good. LB,
Yeah,
give me your final
yeah.
thoughts on this, Jonathan. I want to hear from Jonathan.
Pod, make sure that your Twitter, because sometimes I'm trying to get back at you on Twitter, but it says, like only people who can comment. So I think you got to free your Twitter a little bit more so that I can include you on stuff that I post. All right.
See, I didn't even know that was the case. I'll look into fixing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But but for me, I'm in agreement with Pod Thorn in terms of, I want a sustainable team. What what the David Robinson and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili Spurs were. I mean, I want a team that every year is in contention, and it's like sometimes we might have a franchise player. Like, we're hoping we get a franchise player this draft, or at least the next draft. So that's what I want. But other than that, and I want them to win every year, because guess what? That's what really builds the fan base. That's what makes us really want to go out. Look, we're all on a tanking thing, and we got like 6 or 7 different podcasts. Imagine if we're a 50-win team every year. And I really think that that's what makes it. We don't need the stars to do this. We just, hopefully stars will be homegrown. Because I wanted a team like, I always harken back, because I'm a longtime Nets fan, to when we got Derek Coleman in the 1990 draft, and then the next year we got Kenny Anderson, and then down the line, we traded for
Petra.
Drazen Petrovic. So that's the type of team that I want, where we have all of these pieces, and then we finally get whoever is the best coach at that time, and we sustain winning. Unfortunately, we know what happened with Drazen, but I'm saying that's what you have to do. You have to draft talent. You have to really be lucky, and you have to be hardworking. And I think that's what we need to do. I don't care about having, the top 5 player in the league. I don't care about that as long as we're winning.
And John, close us out.
All right, listen, it was a great show. Connor, Pod, great for you guys to come on. Anybody wants to talk fun basketball with me, you can find me on Twitter at OS91413. John, what's some fun discussions? Listen, the honest stuff, it's a lot of talk right now. I think the good thing for Brooklyn is we're in a great position right now. We obviously, the main mission to get Cooper, Ace, or Harper, that is the main mission. We have a great shot at it if we keep doing what we're doing. But, this next summer, it could be very interesting after the draft. I think the Nets have a lot of windows in front of them. Some windows are being brought to us, but we necessarily don't have to do that. Also say this, too. There are other teams that could want Giannis. Look at a team like the Warriors, who just benched Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who wants $40 million annually. They might do something with Giannis if he wants to move on. The Rockets want to make a big move. So there are other teams that are looking for Giannis, not just us, potentially. So if we stick to getting Ace or Cooper and Giannis goes somewhere else like OKC, hey, we now become the richest team in assets, which would put us at a very top echelon level where we could have multiple windows. We could draft a Cooper or Ace, following year draft an AJ or Cam Boozer, and then after that it gets really fun. Do we want to get a young star like a John Moran or De'Aaron Fox if their situations don't work out? Like, there's so many windows this team can go. And the good thing for Brooklyn is we have the assets. We're going to have the cap space. Like, it's just going to come down to making the right choices and growing this thing. I like what Pod and LBL say, too. You want sustainable winning, and that starts with developing homegrown talent, something Brooklyn has yet to do. We can make history next year drafting a top lottery pick, and I think that's going to really energize the Brooklyn fan base. So I hope we do that and we see what happens next. But I feel very optimistic about Brooklyn's future, and it's great that Stars want us. I believe we're the 8th richest organization out of all the NBA teams, and that's a lot of power too, but it's how you use that power that defines what type of Brooklyn team we're going to be. So I look forward to seeing that. Hope everybody has a happy Halloween, and it's been a fun show.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And Connor, should the Jets tank too like the Nets? Should the Jets just call it a season, get rid of everyone and tank real quick?
Nah, I'll never root for them to tank, Gary. Even last year when they were playing those meaningful games, I can't root for my team to lose. I don't know. It's just something I can't go out, for football. Yeah. I just can't physically grasp the mindset of, hoping my team loses. I can't do it. I really can't. So tonight, I already think the season's over. Tonight, if they lose, the season's 1,000% over.
Yeah,
it can't be. It can't be that the best idea was to build this whole thing around a 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah,
that can't.
I still can't believe they did that.
The logic.
They gave him too much power.
Makes so much more sense than like. Wouldn't you like to have a CJ or who's the kid in the Commanders? Like, wouldn't you?
Jayden Daniels. Yeah, but the thing is, those draft picks are so hard to come by. It's a complete crapshoot. Look at someone like Bryce Young, who's already benched. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, all these guys that were supposed to be these can't-miss quarterbacks. And the Jets, the mentality and I thought it was the correct mentality coming off a 7-10 season in 2022 is, we're just that one piece away, that competent quarterback. We're in a win now mindset. We have a team that fits that mold. You get us that quarterback that could play, to a top 15, top 18 level. They're a playoff team. However, that's simply not been the case. 14 years, no playoffs. I think this team is seriously cursed.
Not a 7-10 team is not ready to do that. No, you're young.
There were 7-10 that could have been 10-7.
Sorry, in retrospect, I loved it too at the moment, but you look back at damn, that was stupid, right?
The Nets have to look at the Jets too.
This isn't going to ultimately work.
The Nets are like the Jets.
Connor, that's nasty work, my guy.
If the Nets
we got
go
KG
get Giannis,
and Paul Pierce.
Exactly. If they go get Giannis, then they are the Jets.
All right. I gotta wrap
this up. I disagree. Wait, can I just say this one thing?
I gotta wrap this up.
I say this one thing. You say Giannis is old guy. He's only 30 years old. He's got at least 5 good years left in him. He's not pushing 40 yet. He's got to say that too.
He has got 5 years as one of the 3 or 4 best players in the NBA. But I gotta wrap this up, guys. Thank you to the whole panel.
Right.
Thank you, Gary.
I gotta run.
Appreciate you, Gary.
Peace, Gary.
God bless y'all.
Happy Halloween.
Likewise. Peace.